The second season of the Prototype Cup Germany. Hello everybody, welcome to Oschersleben, the Oschersleben Motorsport Arena to be precise. We are on the outskirts of Magdeburg. The sun is shining. We are part of the DTM weekend. Things could not be any better as we get ready for this, the first race of round 2 of the 2023 season for the ADAC Creventic Prototype Cup Germany, a wonderful series organised by Creventic in association with the ADAC. We saw the first round back in April. It was at Hockenheim, and it was there that Julian Apothelos and Oscar Tunjo took the first win of the season. The second went to Gary Hauser and that veteran of racing, Marcus Pommer, who has arrived back on the scene with some gusto. It is Oscar Tunjo and Julian Apothelos who line up on the front row of the grid, but it's not on pole position because pole position has gone to Lawrence Herr and Matthias Luton, the reigning trophy champion from the debut year of this category. Matthias Luton, who will be taking the second stint in the seat of that car. Of course, Prototype Cup Germany involving 2 drivers for all but one of the cars. We'll tell you more about that as the race progresses. But before all of that, time to introduce the man who stood alongside me, the voice of DTM. We're so pleased to have him with us at the Oschersleben Motorsport Arena. Hello, Chris Hartley, welcome.
Hello, Brian. Hello, everybody. Yeah, we're here in the late afternoon sunshine at Oschersleben, getting set for the first race of what is the second season now of the Prototype Cup Germany. As you see your pole sitting car there after a short, sharp qualifying session this morning of 15 minutes, which was really, by the time you've got out the pits and done an installation lap, kind of 10 minutes of qualifying, so it was pretty frenetic. We had, I think, 6 different drivers that were on pole position at one point or another, including this driver, Oscar Tunjo. But yeah, the second season of the championship, co-organised by the ADAC and Creventic, who are known for their 24-hour races and endurance races. And they all run on Michelin tyres. They have a maximum of 3 sets of slicks to use per weekend. But for the first event, they'll get 4 sets of slick tyres. And the cars are all LMP3 cars, 6-speed gearboxes, traction control. They only weigh about 950 kilograms, so the power to weight ratio is very impressive indeed. So the LMP3 cars, which were first launched in 2015, now already at the 8th season of LMP3 cars, but as I say, only the second season of this one. There are 4 different types of chassis, and they all run the second generation version of the LMP3 cars with around about 455 brake horsepower. Nissan V8 engines powering these along, and those V8s sound absolutely mega, don't they, Brian, when they're heading around the circuit here at Oschersleben in particular, because the spectator banking, and you and I were out there watching them practice yesterday. You get really close to the action here, don't you?
You really do. They sound phenomenal as these cars rumble along their track. The ground absolutely shakes. The wonderful 5.6 litre Nissan V8 engines producing 455 brake horsepower. Wonderful stuff. There are 3 LMP3 brands represented here this weekend: Duqueine, Ligier and Ginetta. It's fairly unique. There's no other LMP3 series that has that in 2023. Duqueine winning the race in terms of numbers of chassis on the grid. We've got 8 Duqueines, 4 Ligiers and 3 Ginettos as we look at Marco Kasich, the Canadian driver for MRS GT Racing, thumbs up, who is loving his time here in Germany. The engines are fired up, and very, very shortly we will be ready to go. Now, all of these cars by one have 2 drivers. The only exception to that is Martin Anderson in the number 21 car. He will be driving the entire race. For everybody else, there will need to be a driver change when the pit stop window opens, and that will open during the race. For everybody else, there is a minimum pit stop time, and then depending on what FIA category that driver is will depend on what that minimum pit stop time is. Martin Anderson will still need to stop for a mandatory pit stop, and he will need to be stationary for a certain amount of time, but he is the only driver of that car, so he will then rejoin the circuit. Complicated, yes, but it's what makes the racing great as the cars now roll off the grid under the sunshine here at the Oschersleben Motorsport Arena circuit. That is 3.67 kilometers around, and it equates to about 2.27 miles. 14 turns, 7 to the left and 7 to the right, running in a clockwise direction. Overtaking opportunities, not a lot. That spot there is one of the best overtaking opportunities on the circuit. That's at the end of the pit straight into turn 1. Turn 2, that wide, round hotel turn, the scene of many an incident over the years, and keeping the cars on the track around that part of the circuit, always a bit of a challenge. Formation lap is underway, and we are going to have a look at the starting grid for this race. It's Laurens Herr on pole position with Oscar Tunjo alongside Marcus Pommer and the young Elio Sperandio. He has really impressed in the number 35 car. Max van der Smel and Nico Gerler ahead of Robin Rogowski and Danny Sufi. Marco Kasich and Gabriela Jilkova, the only lady driver in the race, ahead of Martin Anderson, Jakob Erlbacher. And then it's Sebastian von Gartzen had a trouble qualifying session this morning ahead of Dino Steiner and Kevin Rorschach bringing up the rear. It looks as though Nico Silva, who was listed to start alongside Danny Sufi in the Conrad Motorsport number 2 Ginetta, is not racing here. So it looks as though Danny Sufi may also be doing a solo stint in the car. His pit time will reflect that. So the cars are now at the end of their formation lap. The heat, hopefully a little bit of heat into the tires, not a great deal, just on that fairly slow lap. But now rounding the final section of the track behind the safety car, and in a few minutes the safety car will duck off into the pit lane, and we will have 55 minutes plus 1 lap of racing ahead of us. So there's the safety car. It ducks off into the pit lane on the outside of the circuit, and it is Laurens Herr and Oscar Tunjo who lead the pack around onto the pit straight. This is race 3 of a 12-race season for the Prototype Cup Germany, and we are go. And it looks at Oscar Tunjo, who's just got a nose ahead, but Laurens Herr has the line into turn 1, under braking, and it's Herr who comes back and takes the lead into the corner. Oscar Tunjo slotting into second place, but look at Marcus Pommer trying to go round the outside. That's a tough old stretch around the outside of the hotel turn. There's somebody further back who's kicking up a bit of dirt, but very much as they were on the grid is Laurens Herr, Oscar Tunjo and Marcus Pommer who leads the way. Looks like Elio Sperandio is getting mugged by one of the Conrad Motorsport cars behind him. That'll be Danny Sufi. Danny Sufi, who in his second year in this category, finally settles in behind Elio Sperandio, goes deep out of the corner, almost surrenders a position, but now tucks back in, and all the cars surviving the opening corners. Yeah, now they find their way through this chicane sequence at turns 8 and 9, and these cars very low to the ground will feel that, the drivers, as they thud over the curbs out of turn 10, and already the race leader at the end of the back straight into turn 11. He had a tight battle, didn't he, for holding on to that lead through the first few corners, but the second half of the lap he's really left them behind. So Tunjo is then in second place. He's got a bit of a gap himself as it comes through the final 2 corners and out at the end of the lap. And then Marcus Pommer, who made a good start to the race but couldn't really take advantage of it. The former German F3 champion is there in the 15 car running in third place. That's the black and orange racing experience car run by the Luxembourg-based team, and he's got Gary Hauser to get in the car later on, fourth, just behind his Sperandio, who was one of the drivers on provisional pole earlier on. I was just looking at Martin Anderson having a bit of a tank slapper out of turn 1 into turn 2, drifting much. Laurens Herr, what a lead. He's pulled out 1.6 seconds on that first lap. He's the only gold registered driver in this, the rest of the drivers being either silver or bronze, but he's putting that experience to good use, and that's quite a lead that he's opened up over Oscar Tunjo, of course the race 1 winner last time. That's Mark van der Snel, the son of Max van der Snel, who will also be in the seat of that car later on, and he is making his move on Danny Soufi. Max van der Snel has been looking very useful indeed in the Moore Motorsport by Reiter car. A great team, a great driver, father-son combination from the Netherlands, and they have been mightily impressive already this season. That's the number 14 car, Jan Marszalkowski. He's also moving forwards, a driver who had a disappointing Hockenheim, but now he is pushing forwards as Jan Marszalkowski and looking to make amends for what was a tough first weekend. He's a welcome addition here to the Prototype Cup Germany in 2023. Looking again at the restart, it really was a drag race into turn one, wasn't it?
Yeah, so here you go, the pole sitter on the right, but look how much he's made to work for it, because actually slightly ahead was Oscar Tunio, the white and turquoise number 6 to Quinn, and the Colombian almost got his nose in front, then had to hold station, and then you got Marcus Pommer fighting to be third and hold on to third place just behind them as they went through that first turn. And then at the back of the group was Kevin Rorschach, and then had the steering moment through the chicane for the Conrad car, and almost taking out the static camera, wasn't it, as it went through. But yeah, Max van der Snel with that move on Danny Soufi getting up into 5th place now. Moore Motorsport, the family-run team. Son and then Dad will take over the wheel later on. They come all the way up through the motorsport ranks as a pairing and running that team. So it's great to see them being competitive against some perhaps bigger teams, more well-known teams. And again, on a real charge here is Lawrence Orr, the race leader, has just done the absolute best first and second sectors. He's already got the fastest lap of the race. And I think as he comes into turn 14, the race leader might be about to get a new fastest lap again.
So what a performance from Lawrence Orr at the front. Oscar Tunio doing all that he can to hold onto him, but that 1.9 seconds already. It's going to take a bit of stopping from there. Just to remind you, once again, there is a pit window that will open. It opens 22 minutes into the race, and it's open for 10 minutes. During that 10-minute window, every car will need to visit the pits for a mandatory stop, and in the case of non-single drivers, will need to do a driver change as well. Lawrence Orr leading the way, Oscar Tunio, Marcus Pommer, that's the 1, 2, 3. Keep an eye on Elias Sparandio, he is very, very quick in 4th place. The impressive Max van der Snel in 5th, ahead of Danny Soufi after that moment on the chicane. Then it's Jan Marszalkowski and Nico Gerler. Gabriela Julkova in 9th place. Quick Gabby in the number 5 car ahead of Robin Rogowski, rounding out the top 10. So settling down a bit, the rumble through the ground continues here on race 3 of the season, race 1 of the weekend. Of course, the second race will be later. We've been having bets with our TV director how long that camera will last on the chicane.
Just about surviving. They're getting closer than all the other championships to it, though, that we've had today. I think the prototype drivers absolutely flying through. That's because there's so much downforce, of course, on these cars. They're so low slung, these aerodynamic kit on the cars, and these huge rear wings as well. The reflection in the race buildings over both the pit garages here in the sunshine, with more than a 2-second advantage now for the race leader, who's a fraction quicker on that lap, but only about a 10th quicker than Tunio. So a 120.49 for the leader, a 120.59 for Tunio in second, 121.2 in 3rd place for Pommer, and most of them now setting personal best lap times, but they're going to push on, and then they're going to think about the pit stop, which will soon be with them, won't it, between the 22nd and 33rd minute. And depending on the level of the drivers and the combination of the level of the drivers, they will then have additional seconds added on to the minimum pit stop time, with the higher rated drivers having to be in the pits longer. So it's between 5 and 20 seconds, depending on the actual pit stop time you are delegated by the rule book.
So that is Jan Marszalkowski in 7th place in the black and white car. Nico Gerler in the very distinctive pink BWT Muka Motorsport. There's a legendary team if ever there was one. Tracking him is car 8 in 8th place, and that is the closest battle on the track at the moment. Nico Gerler turning the heat up a little bit on Jan Marszalkowski, a driver who is still very much getting used to this, having jumped into the seat from GT Racing quite late on, quite close to the first race of the season. Nico Gerler, well, last time we saw him, he was in ADAC Formula 4. Then he spent some time in Formula 3 and Formula Regional, but he has really taken to LMP3 racing in that car. Nico Gerler, who shares the driving duty with Gustavo Kirila, the Brazilian driver. So 47 3/4 minutes remaining. It is Lawrence Hurt who is stretching his legs at the front. 1.9 was the gap last time around. That is likely to increase further. We saw somebody just picking up a bit of dirt there as they ran wide, but very much as you were at the moment, except that Nico Gerler really putting the heat onto Jan Marszałkowski now.
Yeah, Marszałkowski's gone wide a couple of times, hasn't he? Because he's having to go so deep into the corners to keep that pink machine behind him. The Muga Motorsport car looks to be a bit more sat down, a bit more settled through the high-speed corners at the moment. Marszałkowski's wringing the neck of his number 14 car just to stay ahead in this battle for 7th place, although that said he gets a good run out of that corner at turn 10 and onto the back straight, doesn't he? Just gives himself a little bit of breathing space. Ahead of the field, 1.9 seconds is now the gap from Horta Tunyo, 72 leading the 6th car, and with an absolute best first sector time on this lap as well, responding to the fact that Tunyo put in the best lap of the race last time around. So working hard because he knows that Tunyo is sort of matching him on every other lap now. They've gone through with Pommer in 3rd, Sparandio in 4th, Max van der Snel in 5th place, Danny Sufi in 6th place, and then this battle for 7th between Marszałkowski and Gola, with Jilkova and Rogalski rounding out the top 10.
It's all about scoring those points coming into this race. Gary Hauser and Marcus Pommer were leading the points championship just by 4 points from Julian Apostolos and Oscar Tunyo. At the moment, Marcus Pommer is in 3rd place and Tunyo is ahead of him, so that will close the championship even more if they would have finished in that order, but there's an awful long way to go yet. I think Jan Marszałkowski would really rather that pink car wasn't in his mirrors. You saw him going quite wide into the corner. Gerler really having the better traction and taking a much tighter line. Past the bollard camera we go once again. Behind them is Gabriela Jilkova. She's a long way back, so well, I say a long way, 4/10 of a second, that's an eternity in motorsport, but that does allow Gerler to put the pressure on to Jan Marszałkowski without the fear of letting in Gabriela Jilkova too quickly. Jakob Erlbacher, Robin Rogowski,
second, number 21 of Anderson, who had an early finish to qualifying earlier on today. So the 77 car of Rogalski now, this old touring car trick of flashing the headlights and trying to unnerve the car ahead. The Polish driver has a look at the inside and now thinks about it twice and then backs off out of the move, because there's no ways they were ever going to go two together into the chicane, was there? So you've got to either go for it before you get there or back off out of it. And I think he probably chose the right option there, because two together into that chicane would be absolute disaster. But that was half a chance, wasn't it, as he begins to show his nose now, twitching and dancing the car on the way through turns 11 and 12 though, because they are now starting to feel the heat of the tyres, aren't they? You can see again one running wide just ahead, which was probably Marszałkowski in 7th.
Rob Rogalski tucked in behind Gabriela Julkova. He's going to pick up a slipstream as they head past the pit lane. Up ahead, that's Danny Sufi that we've just seen go through your picture. But Rob Rogalski still not close enough to make a challenge, catching them and getting past. Now that's the challenge on a circuit as narrow as this. And Jan Marszałkowski using all of his skill, all of his knowledge to keep that pink car behind him, the number 8, the BWT Motorsport Duquesne of Nico Gerler, doing all he can to keep behind. Now, up ahead of them is Kevin Roscheit, so they're going to have to work really hard. Marszałkowski needs to get past Roscheit in such a way that he doesn't open the door up for Nico Gerler. Roscheit being lapped, so is there a gap on the inside? No, there isn't. Nico Gerler sees his opportunity. Now Marszałkowski ducks to the inside. A bit of a moment with the heart in the mouth. He makes it happen. Across the chicane they go, and still Marszałkowski holding on to that 7th place. Up ahead of them, that's Danny Sufi.
Yeah, it was good from Kevin Roscheit as he was being lapped, because he saw them coming and then he just got out of the way at the last second through that chicane, as there's another luck at the inside from Rogalski there. But again, that sends out wide his opponent and leaves half a chance into the next corner. But again, just covering it off and going defensive here has really dropped them back away very quickly from the Marszałkowski and Gerler fights as they make their way out of turn 14. So Julkova really wrestling the car there and on the back foot at the moment to just try and keep that 77 Rogalski car behind. But you can see how much time they've already lost, look, to the two ahead. They were right behind them half a lap ago. Now they're a good second behind them.
These cars are very wide. It's the first time we've ever seen them at the Oschersleben Motorsport Arena, so it's a learning curve for everybody here in just a second season for this series. And you see how wide they are and you realise how tough it is getting past. You really need quite a big speed differential to just get past even into turn 1, which is the best overtaking opportunity. Looking ahead, we just saw our 1, 2, 3. Lawrence Hurst still leading the way ahead of Oscar Tunyo. Marcus Pommer running on his own in 3rd place, and then Elias Sparandio. And that's Max van der Snel, who is in the number 99 car running in 5th place. He's some 7.6 seconds back from the race leader. That man there, Lawrence Hurst, he started on pole position. He's led every lap so far, but it's all going to change shortly because the pit window will open and it'll be the bronze-rated Matthijs Luton who will be next into the seat, and suddenly it's game on for everybody. But still, there's the leader, Oscar Tunyo, running very much on his own. Marcus Pommer, who should be coming around very shortly. And a lovely slow-mo of Lawrence Hurst, using all the curb, using all of his experience, sliding the car. Wonderful stuff. And you can see the car just lifting off the ground and doing what he needs to do to extend that 3.236 second lead.
And in terms of the top 3, we've got the gold and bronze pairing of the race leading car, and then the 2 behind are both silver pairing, which means they balance out. They're all going to get an additional 20 seconds. So I mean, nobody inside that top 3 to gain an advantage on one of the other cars ahead of them. And silver pairing as well for 4th place at the moment, the 35 Ligier of Elias Sparandio, which was a single driver actually, will get an extra 5 seconds added on. So Sparandio will, in theory, drop further back away from them, but should still have enough in hand to be able to stay ahead of the Van der Snels, because that's nearly 8 seconds between them at the moment. So the extra 5 seconds is a single driver, hopefully from point of view, won't be able to drop it back down the order as we continue to watch this battle that's been raging on between Jilkova and Rogalski for 9th and 10th positions, making their way out again, out wide, coming out of turn 14. Just desperate to get on the power, aren't they? So that they're, from the attacker's point of view, might be a chance going into the start of the next lap, and from the driver that's defending, just to make sure they don't have somebody breathing down their neck at turn 1.
So still Robin Rogalski doing all that he can. Maybe forcing Jan Marszałkowski into a mistake is going to be not Jan Marszałkowski, I beg your pardon, to Gabriela Jilkova. Forcing her into a mistake is going to be his best opportunity to get past. But quick Gabby, ever the entertainer, very, very rapid indeed. There's not one for making mistakes that regularly. Robin Rogalski continues just to fill the mirrors, to distract, to flash the lights, to go left, to go right. But Gabriela Jilkova still remaining focused. She's another driver that was in GT4 last year, another driver who's moved into LMP3 and loving the rumble of these machines. It's all allowed Jan Marszałkowski and Nico Gerler to break free a little, and there is Danny Sufi just going through on his own as well. Very much the closest battle on track at the moment. Robin Rogalski in 10th place, Gabriela Jilkova in 9th. The number 77 is Robin Rogalski, the number 5 is Gabriela Jilkova. Pit window is now open, well, open any second now, 33 minutes into the race. That is a 10-minute window, and straight in comes Robin Rogalski. So he's decided he's had enough of following around Gabriela Jilkova. So Rogalski will be handing over to Valentino Catalana. How impressive was Valentino at Hockenheim, the ex-Formula 4 racer, then Formula 3. Valentino Catalana will be jumping into the seat of that car. And also into the pits, Gabriela Jilkova. That's not quite what they wanted in the team of the number 77 car, because the two cars that were glued together are coming in together, and it will be Xavier Loveras, a driver that we welcome to the series, alongside Gabriela Jilkova, who will jump into the seat of that car. Still, Lawrence Herr remains out front, and I would suggest he will probably remain out in that seat until quite late on in the pit window.
Yeah, I reckon Rogalski was thinking, oh, I'll go in early because I'm fed up of staring at the back of that number 5 car of Jilkova. And then, of course, as you say, they came in together. So a race between the pit crews, and important to get a good outlap as well. This 10-minute pit window, no refueling, no tyre changes, as Brian said. A maximum of 3 people working on the pit stop, a maximum of 1 air gun. Can't reverse under the engine power of the car. That's prohibited as well. And you can't carry out any work on the car during that pit stop as well. And of course, have to stick to the pit lane speed limit on the way in and on the way out of their box. So lots of rules to adhere to as we continue to watch Lawrence Herr, who's now nearly 4 seconds clear of Oscar Tunyo in the lead of the race. Marcus Pommer is adrift of both of them now, 10 seconds behind the race leader and 6 seconds behind Tunyo in that 3rd place. Barandio is only a second behind Pommer in 4th position, and on the last lap was 0.2 quicker as well. So for the final spot on the podium, that's starting to close up, although as we said, Barandio will have an extra 5 seconds in the pits as a single driver.
Yeah, Elio Sparandio, the young driver, he's taken to LMP3 racing like the proverbial duck to water, has been very, very impressive. Marcus Pommer, a veteran of racing, a 6-time ADAC GT Masters winner. He said he wanted to be back in this series to get himself back in the media, to get a presence in Germany as the 77 car comes out of the pits. Valentino Catalano and Gabriel Jilkova has now handed over to Xavier Loveras. Xavier Loveras in front still, and it's Valentino Catalano behind that car. I was going to say about Marcus Pommer, that he wanted to have more of a presence on the media. Well, we haven't seen much of him because he's riding very much on his own, but he will be in soon to hand over to his co-pilot. So there's the leader. Obviously, we've got lapped cars and unlapped cars. This is going to be significant for position, though. Xavier Loveras, beg your pardon, it's Oscar Tunyo in the identical car to Xavier Loveras with the number 77 of Valentino Catalano.
Yeah, Catalano came out of the pits right in front of Oscar Tunyo, so it takes the best part of a lap, doesn't it, to do your pit stop here. What's a relatively short lap, so frustration here, flashing the headlights. Come on, get out of the way, because I'm trying to lap you, because I'm trying to stay on terms with the race-leading number 72 car here, but Oscar Tunyo can't find a way through, because actually getting up to speed very quickly is Catalano, a quick driver as we know, and now beginning, I think, to leave behind the number 6 car, just refusing to go a lap down, go out wide. You can see that the cars are so low slung that they'll feel it as they run and rattle over the curbs here. Still flashing the lights is Tonio, but that lap, the race leader did a 1:21.1 and a 1:22.7 for Tonio. So that lap alone, Brian, has cost Oscar Tonio 1.5 seconds.
It's the nightmare scenario, isn't it? Traffic, you call it traffic, but it's going to be contenders for the championship. They are all contenders for the championship. Valentino Catalano, Robin Rogowski, very much in the championship hunt, as indeed Oscar Tonio and Julian Apostolos. So there's a lot of strategy in this as well. And I don't think that Valentino Catalano is going to be in any hurry whatsoever to let Oscar Tonio through to lap him. So around the hotel turn, once again, we've still got 5 minutes left in the pit window, and I should think that, well, we're going to see the leader in probably in about 5 minutes' time.
Yeah, possibly so, but while it's all working and while there's no traffic ahead, I think I'll probably leave the leader out for as long as possible. You have the idea of when you want to come and make your pit stop, but you do have to be a little bit flexible, because if you're suddenly coming up to maybe a group of cars that potentially will hold you up, then you think, well, actually, I'll dive for the pits now. Now, car number 21, under investigation for an infringement. This is the ADAC Motorsport car, the Belgian team of Martin Anderson. So Martin under investigation for an infringement at the moment. So they're looking into that currently, and Martin has just dropped down the order because he's about to go for the pits. Konstantin Scholl just behind him, from a European kart racer who's been coming up through international car racing for the last couple of seasons. So those two come and make their pit stops, and the rest of them will come in fairly soon. But Oscar Tonio is the first of that lead trio to come in, and doesn't want to lose any more time, does he, behind that 77 machine of Catalano. So comes in, the driver that's getting out can help the driver that's getting into the seat, and changing seats as well to suit the different size of these two drivers.
So Julian Apostolos waiting to get in. Not quite the rush that you get in some driver changes because the mandatory stop is so long, but Julian Apostolos, a experienced driver for someone so young. He's certainly done an awful lot, knows his way around a number of circuits, and Julian Apostolos has proved to be very strong. Lawrence Hurst still out in front. Marcus Pommer up to second on account of the pit stops. Then Max van der Snel ahead of Danny Sufi and Jan Marshall-Kovsky, all yet to stop, as indeed is Nico Gerler and Jakob Erlbacher. You can see from the clock that Oscar Tonio, Elias Sparandio into the pits. Now, we've said that Elias Sparandio is solo. I think there may have been a change to that quite late on, so I'm thinking that we might get Lucas Moron into the seat of that. We'll wait for confirmation, but ever-changing picture now. This is Lawrence Hurst into the pit. So our race leader into the pit lane, perhaps a little earlier than I expected, getting ready to hand over to Matthias Luton, who will have been chomping at the bit for a long time, waiting to get into the seat of the Quarantin Kempe Motorsport Duquesne. So the doors open, out gets Lawrence Hurst, and then Matthias Luton, the reigning trophy champion, the German driver, jumping into the seat. Now Lawrence Hurst helps him to get buckled in. You can see the seat insert that's on the track there, just to suit the different body shapes and sizes. Getting him buckled in, making sure that it's all safe. He's got plenty of time, and you can see the clock's ticking down at the side. Don't be worried by the plus numbers. It's the excessive pit time. Again, it's because of the pit stop handicap cap, depending on the driver rating. So we will see where the number 72 car with Matthias Luton comes out of the pits in relation to the rest of the field. But of course, we're still waiting for Max van der Snel to come in, Danny Sufi and Jan Marshall-Kovsky and Nico Gerler. 4 cars still yet to pit. We've got just over 2 minutes left of the pit window. Car 35 under investigation, that's Elias Sparandio. Article 39, that is a likely pit stop infringement, as indeed is the case for Martin Anderson in the number 21 car. So it could be they've gone below the minimum pit stop time. We will keep an eye on our timing screens and let you know about that. This wait must feel like an eternity for Matthias Luton. He wants to get on with it, but he has to wait for the clock to reach the right number. I think he'll be able to go now. Oh, and he little trouble getting it out the blocks, but he finally gets it, and he finally rejoins And we'll see where he comes out. Now, he should be in a pretty good position when the pit stops are all said and done because of that lead that had been built up by Lawrence Herr.
Yeah, it should be. This pair are looking for their first win of the season. They had a third-place finish in the first race of the opening weekend at Hockenheim recently, but they had a retirement from race 2, which is why they're only 7th in the championship as a pairing. So the car weaving its way now back out onto the circuit, tucks in behind one of the Conrad cars there just ahead, but into a relatively open track. And if they can win it, it'll be 3 different winners from the first 3 races. Julian Apotholos and Oscar Tunyo won the first round at Hockenheim. Round 2 was Marcus Pommer and Gary Hauser. And it could be, therefore, a third different pairing winning this third race of the season. The pit window coming to its conclusion with only about 40 seconds left on the clock now, and just over 23.5 minutes left to run in the race, with the picture now about to become much clearer as to who's going to be up there and what the gaps will have either grown or come down to in between those top 4 runners. But it looked like a pretty decent, and pit stop just a bit trouble getting away, but I think it should be okay now to hold on to the lead of the race.
You saw in the background a pass there, but that wasn't for position. That's Wolfgang Peyer, who's taken over from Kevin Rorscheit, another of the bronze drivers. Wolfgang Peyer, the Austrian driver in the Racing Experience Duquesne, and he just going a lap down. But as already mentioned, we have different championships. We have the trophy, we have the junior championship. Pit window is now closed, so we're going to wait for it to shake out a little bit and we'll see how we're doing, but I don't think there's any doubt at all that Matthias Luton is the man in the lead. It looks like it's Julian Apotholos in second place, having taken over from Oscar Tunyo, and in third place, Gary Hauser, who's taken over from Marcus Pommer. The 1, 2, 3, but I have to say, I think Julian Apotholos has now got his eyes on the lead of this race. So Julian Apotholos, we'll look at the gap on that once we've got some times from our timing screen. We need them to cross the line just to reset after all the stops. But that car there with Julian Apotholos at the wheel, the young Swiss driver, having taken over from the Colombian Oscar Tunyo, looking to be the first driver pairing to get 2 wins this season. And the number 72 car tempting how close he is to it. It's Matthias Luton who's going to be holding on for all he's worth. But Julian Apotholos, how quick is he looking? Out along they go. You can see a little bit of undulation in the track. It's a fairly flat surface here at the Oschersleben Motorsport Arena. A little bit of a ripple here, but no great undulation. But there, the 1 and the 2, and second place visibly closing in. It's Matthias Luton leading the way, but how long will it be before Julian Apotholos is on his back bumper, under his rear wing, heading along the pit straight? I think in a couple of laps, he's going to be up with him. Also closing in, Gary Hauser in that third place. Lovely slow-mo of Maximilian Hacklander, who's taken over for Sebastian von Gartzen. And von Gartzen, who had a torrid time in qualifying this morning, brought out a red flag in the closing stages. He's handed over the driving duties to a very experienced GT driver, Maximilian Hacklander, ex-GT Masters. And he is doing very well. That looks like Martin Anderson doing a bit of drifting into the corner. And a drive-through penalty for car 35 for an infringement of Article 39, and also for Martin Anderson in car 21. So a drive-through penalty for the 35 car. It is Elio Sperandio, so it is still him in that car solo. And drive-through penalty for Martin Anderson for an infringement of the pit stop process. So something they've done that has broken the rules, and that is going to drop them a long way down the order. Right, this is the battle for the lead. It's Matthias Luton with Julian Apotholos right with him now. Surely Julian Apotholos is going to be making his move to take the lead of this race. They head out of the final corner of the track, out onto the pit straight once again. Is Apotholos close enough? Maybe a little bit too far back on this lap, but he is closing in.
Yeah, and Apotholos was at one point when they were both out of the pits 2 seconds back, and his first lap then behind the wheel of the car, he was 8/10 quicker, and then he got the gap down again on his second lap, which is why he's now right underneath the rear wing of the number 72 car leading the race. So Apotholos in the number 6 car pushing on. We're going to get another understeering moment through turn 2 here. So that was the car that was involved in that huge battle for 7th place earlier on, isn't it?
Yeah, Marco Kasich, that is, who's gone wide there. Driver who is absolutely loving his time in Prototype Cup Germany. I spoke to him yesterday and he's like, I've discovered German racing. I will never race anywhere ever again. He is absolutely loving it and he's enjoying his partnership with Jan Marszalkowski. Look at this for the lead. First and second running together. Matthias Luton, Julian Apostolos. Apostolos, is he closer now? He's been closing and closing 0.3 of a second last time around. I would suggest that he's getting close to making a challenge for that lead. Third place is Gary Hauser in the number 15 car. So we've got some lapped cars in there as well. Car 14 also under investigation for an infringement of Article 39. That is Marco Kasich. That'll be disastrous for him if he gets a drive-through penalty. The pit stop infringements are coming thick and fast. Now, heading up towards turn 1. This is the move we've been waiting for. Apostolos, he's going to try and go round the leading car. He does it with relative ease, relegating Matthias Luton down into second place. A new leader here in the Prototype Cup Germany at Oschersleben. It's Julian Apostolos who takes over at the front of the race.
Yeah, great move. That set it up absolutely beautifully, didn't he? The other thing that happened in this pit stop period was that the third place car, driven by Gary Hauser, got much closer than it was before the pit stops. It was around about 5 seconds down on the second place car. It's now just over a second down on it, and actually closer now that they've had that battle. It's got past the back marker as well. You've got the Van der Snel car 99, which has gained places up to 4th. Danny Sufi car number 2, 5th. And the one that really dropped down the order is that 35 car of Sporandio. It dropped down the order anyway, and has now got this penalty. As we get a replay of this terrific move from Apostolos. He just got his car positioned beautifully around the outside of turn 1, so he knew that when we turn right in a second, I'm going to be on the line, and you are going to have to back off out of the way because I am in, I'm through, and I'm the new leader of the race. So with Sporandio dropping back with that penalty into 6th place now has come the number 5 car of Javier Lovaras, and 77 Catalano, who, remember, came out of the pits and was getting in the way of the 6th car, which now leads the race. Well, he wasn't really getting in the way because he was quick, wasn't he? But he has now got up to 7th place in the 77 machine. So again, 5 and 77 tied together, only 0.7 of a second between them.
And a drive-through penalty has been awarded to Marco Kasich. A disaster for the MRS GT Racing Ligier that he's sharing with Jan Marszalkowski. Again, infringement of Article 39. That'll be a pit stop infringement. So many drivers have had pit stop infringements. 4 of them, any more, and they'll all done it. But Marco Kasich going to have to pass through the pits. That's going to drop him a long way back. You've already seen Martin Anderson being lapped in the blue and white car. I think he has now served his drive-through penalty, which will explain why he's being lapped. Look how quickly Julian Apostolos has pulled away from Matthias Luton, who is now falling into the clutches of Gary Hauser, and it is only a matter of time before the number 72 car is going to be relegated down to 3rd place, surely, and it's probably going to be in a very similar style to how he lost the lead, out along the pit straight and in towards turn 1, picking up the slipstream. Matthias Luton looking a little bit vulnerable here as they head towards turn 1. Now Hauser ducks to the inside. He's going to switch back to the outside. Is he? No. And he had looked to try and get the inside line into the corner. Tries to go the long way round. Matthias Luton learns quickly, doesn't he? He shuts the door and holds him back. Martin Anderson, quite keen to get his lap back that he's lost, also getting involved in that battle.
Yeah, the blue and white car, and he was splitting this battle, wasn't he, a couple of laps ago, but Gary Hauser was keen to get through and is now right onto the tail, as you say, of Luton in the number 72 car, but absolutely hanging on to them in the blue and white number 21 car is Anderson, albeit a lap down. So although he's 14th, he'll be pretty pleased with the pace that he's shown at this stage of the race. Lapping just as quickly as these two battling for a podium position, but all the while Apostolos is just absolutely charging away in the number 6 car, and he's now already 5 seconds clear, and he got into that position around about 3 laps ago, didn't he? So he's flying at more than a second a lap quicker than his rivals, and they're looking for a 3rd consecutive podium finish. 3 out of 3 it would be for Apostolos and Tunyo. A win in round 1, a third in round 2, and potentially now a win in round 3 to further extend their championship lead, which is only move into the championship lead, because a win and a second last time out for Hauser and Pommer meant that they were 4 points clear coming into this latest third round of the championship.
Matthias Luton continues to hold on to that second place. Gary Hauser continues to challenge. Martin Anderson still continues to look to get that lap back in the LMP3 car. Very different to the Honda Civic he was driving last year in TCR Germany. He is the outgoing TCR Germany champion, is Martin Anderson. And he jumped into the seat of the number 21 car very lastminute.com as the season was starting. And a very different concept, a much lighter aerodynamic car, completely different to what he's used to. He's using this very much as a practice session, having had that drive-through penalty, but looking very quick, and will be optimistic for tomorrow's race, given the pace here. He is hassling Gary Hauser, who is a podium position at the moment, and Matthias Luton still holding on to that second. Julien Apotelos 7.1 seconds ahead. He's gaining about 2 seconds a lap at the moment on this fight for second and third place. In fourth place is Mark van der Snel, the father of Max, who's taken over the number 99 machine. And that is a bit of drifting there. Is that the Van der Snel car? It could well be, looking at it from that angle. No, it's not. It is Elia Sperandio, who gets it all wrong and cuts across the gravel. Matthias Luton doing all that he can to keep Gary Hauser behind. Still, Hauser is unable to find that route through. He was 5th in last year's Prototype Cup Germany Championship, and looking for a better result this year, and did not start in the second race at Hockenheim. Has really put them on the back foot in terms of championship positions, having got a podium in the first race of the weekend at Hockenheim, and still trying to get past.
Great battle going on behind this one for fourth place as well, between Mark van der Snel in the 99 cars, only just a few tenths ahead of the number 5 car of Javier Loverath, and then you've got, right with the pair of them now, the 77 car of Valentino Catalano. They all moved up one because the Danny Sufi car had to go and make its drive-through penalty, so the number 2 car has dropped down now into 9th place. As you get a replay of the Xavier Lovere's car, running 2 wheels on the grass, that battle I was talking about. And yeah, just riding over the curb and shortcutting, but not in a quick way, at the corner there to tuck back in behind them. So that is going to drop that 5 car down from 5th to 7th, potentially, by the time they cut through at the end of the lap. We've still got this battle going on for second place between Luton and Hauser in cars 72 and 15. They're already 9 seconds back on Apotelos now, but because the only car that's anywhere near them is the lapped car of Martin Anderson, you've got a huge gap back then of another 10 seconds or so to the fourth place battle. It means they're free to go for this now for the remaining 11 minutes and 20 seconds of the race.
What can Gary Hauser do? It looks like he's throwing everything at it, including the kitchen sink, still not quite making it happen. Meanwhile, as this battle rages, it releases Julien Apotelos 9.2 seconds last time around, increasing by about 2 seconds a lap at the moment. He's a long way ahead with a little under 11 minutes plus 1 lap of this race remaining. So Apotelos in a very comfortable position. The long-time leader of this race, the number 72 Quarren Kempe Motorsport car, with Matthias Luton at the wheel, having taken over from pole sitter Lawrence Herr, still under the pressure from Gary Hauser. Then Mark van der Snel. Robin Rogowski has found the route past Xavier Loveras and up into 5th place. Loveras down to 6th. In 7th place, it is Gustav Kirila, who's taken over from Nico Gerler in the BWT Muka Motorsport Duquesne. Right, here we are in traffic again. Is this the opportunity? Martin Anderson, he thinks he's in a race for position. He's a lap down, you wouldn't believe it. I think there's probably a bit of steam coming out of his ears because he wants to get that lap back. Probably not impressed with his drive-through penalty. A bit of debris on the track there as well. That'd be easy for a puncture, wouldn't it? But yes, still very much in the battle. And even though he's not in the podium positions, Martin Anderson will draw great comfort that he's keeping up with these cars in front.
Yeah, he's much quicker than he was in the first half of the race, isn't he? Yeah, he seemed to have had maybe an issue in qualifying because he just finished a bit before the end of the session. But the car working absolutely beautifully now. But as you say, his 14th is a lap down. Even if he got past these two, he's never going to unlap himself from the overall race leader, Apothelos, who's 13.4 seconds up the road and just leaving all of these behind now. He's done a 1:21.9, the race leader, last time around. This battle is at best in the 1:22s, but through the traffic on that lap, they were in the 1:26s. So 4.5 seconds lost on that lap alone through the traffic. For Luthen and Hauser, they're not really worried about the leader. They're worried about who's going to be second, who's going to be third, and whether Martin Anderson is going to get involved in this fight as well. Catalano is up to 4th place now as well. And there we get the change. Hauser gets through finally on the way out of 13 and into 14. And he's released to get away now from the 72 car up to 2nd place for Gary Hauser. It was a long time coming, but now that he's through, he's just gone, hasn't he, already?
Yeah, you look at the gap he's opened up. I think Martin Anderson had thoughts about following it in his shirt tails and very wisely backed out of it because it looked like a closing gap in front of him. But look how quickly Gary Hauser has pulled away from Matthias Luthen. But it's probably going to be too little too late because Julian Apothelos is 16, nearly 17 seconds up the road. And in the last 8.5 minutes plus 1 lap, that is going to be a mountain to climb. Car 21, Martin Anderson, has received another warning from the steward, a black and white flag for pushing another car. I think the frustration starting to show for the Danish driver in the number 21 car. So Apothelos leads the way. Gary Hauser now set free to chase after him, but without a safety car or some kind of intervention, really that feels a bit like a lost cause. Matthias Luthen down to 3rd place in the pole-sitting car, fending off the attractions of Martin Anderson, who's trying to unlap himself, and then Valentino Catalana behind them. Again, a little bit out of the running in terms of challenging for position at the moment, but I should think Valentino may have plans to wind in the Luthen car in front of him. So again, past the number 12 car with Wolfgang Peyer at the wheel, the lapped car, and Gary Hauser sets about trying to track down the leader. I think Martin Anderson trying to unlap himself is one of the more entertaining parts of this race, if I'm honest. Great stuff from Martin Anderson.
Just looking at Catalano's lap times, they're absolutely mint at the moment. The only driver quicker, well actually on that lap he was the quickest. The only one that's anywhere near him is the race leader. 1:21.3 was 3 seconds quicker than Luthen last time around, so he's going to be in this battle for the final podium spot very soon indeed. In fact, the 77 car, you can see him in the mirrors almost. Here he comes, he's arrived already. So there he is, he's absolutely flown after Luthen. And Luthen has now got this car all over him. The battle for 3rd place with Martin Anderson having dropped back behind the 77 car. Of course, he's a lapped car on the blue and white machine. So Catalano, much the quicker of the two at the moment, trying to unsettle the driver ahead in the remaining 6.5 minutes now to try and find a way past and get that final spot on the podium away from the number 72 car of Luthen. So there they are, nose to tail, 3rd and 4th, making their way around turn 12 into turn 13 now, and 14. If you can set up a move here, maybe he'll have a run at the start, but we got big off here, and that's the 8 car of Krillia, isn't it?
Yes.
It's gone off the road,
That's
big
a
start.
big one.
Rear wing is completely off the car.
Well, we said a safety car might change things around a bit. We are almost certainly going to get a safety car. The only thing is there's so much damage and debris, there's every chance the race might finish under a safety car. I can't believe they're going to leave that there without a safety car. Gustav Kiryla has obviously had a big moment, having taken over from Nico Gerler. We can see him moving around inside, so good to see that he's all okay. But that's been quite a large impact with the fence. And it might inspire Valentino Catalano to actually get a move on before the safety car comes out. Well, a bit too late now, because if this race does finish behind the safety cars, every possibility we might not get back to green flag racing, depending on how much debris and also whether there's any damage to the fence. If that's the case, the race would almost certainly not get restarted. But Gustavo Kiryla climbs from the car, he's all well. The safety car is out. That massive lead of 17 seconds that Julian Apothelos had will disappear. Gary Hauser will be back on his rear bumper, and Hauser will now be wishing every best wish on the marshals that they can get that number 8 car moved and out of the way very quickly, get back to green flag racing, and potentially put up a fight for the lead. Let's have a look what happened. It was on the chicane. He just got onto the curbing. The back end of the car switches around, reversing across the gravel track, which brushes up quite a bit of speed. And actually not as big an impact as it looked to start off with. I think it's a fair bit of damage, but just reversing it into the barrier. You see some debris there on the track. I don't think that had anything to do with it. I think he was gone long before then. But here he goes into the barrier. The tyre barrier is doing exactly what they're meant to do, absorbing the impact. It's torn the rear wing off that car. Now the question is, can they get it cleared in the next 4 minutes, or is this race going to finish behind a safety car?
Yeah, well, Gary Hauser and in second place there will not mind if this doesn't go. Catalano in third place will not mind, because he's got the job done now ahead of Luton.
He did
while that
do
was
it.
going on. Yeah, he got through into third place while all that was happening. So just in time, because if the race does end behind the safety car, he's got the job done now. So Luton dropping back to fourth place. There he's still ahead of Martin Anderson's car. Martin, though, is a lap down. So Potolaz number 6 leads, 15 Hauser in second, 77 Catalano in third place, getting ahead of number 72 Luton, right as that safety car was about to be deployed. In that car we were watching, having its replays, going off into the gravel trap. So 3 minutes 17 seconds left to go. I would think that will probably be it in terms of full race pace now. By the time they get this one out, they've got to do another lap at the end of that one as well, because the safety car is just about to lead them to turn 13. So they're going to have to do at least another lap behind the safety car. And a lap behind the safety car around here, you're probably looking at about 2.5, 3 minutes at least. And there's only 3 minutes left on the clock.
We got the +1 lap, so we could potentially get 1 lap of racing, he says optimistically, but it's a bit of a close court thing, isn't it? So riding on board, the safety car doing a great job and leading the field around, putting the laps in, but 2.5 minutes remaining. The question is, how long will it take to move the BWT ADAC Motorsport to Cane as they wheel it away out near turn 11, looking back at the snake of cars that are following the safety car. So Julian Potolaz would be very happy if this race would finish behind the safety car. Well, it's they're not hanging about dragging it to safety, are they? Yeah, it's a bit of a close-cut thing as to whether it's actually going to go back to green or not.
I guess if you're Gary Hauser, you're pretty happy if it ends behind the safety car as well, because he'll know that Catalano is now behind, and Catalano is very quick indeed, so we wouldn't want to try and defend from Catalano in the 77 car for a lap. You can see there, touring cars and GT cars can ride those curves, but they're much lower to the ground, these prototypes, and if you take a bit too much curb, it just gets airborne, and the moment it got the wheels off the ground and they sat back down, it dug in, and there it digs in, look, the car spears off and snaps away in an instant, and the gravel trap, as you say, did its job, took a bit of the speed off, and then the impact absorbed by the tyre barriers, but lots of damage to the back of the car. But the key thing is that the Brazilian driver is okay and absolutely fine, and hopefully they'll be able to get that car back up and running for race 2 tomorrow.
A bit of bodywork that we saw on the track just in front of where we went off was from the Elias Sparandio car, so that's where it had become detached from, and a bit of a hazardous bit of bodywork with a spike sticking out of it, a bit of supportive structuring sticking out of it. It was good that nobody actually collected that. Right, less than a minute to go, and we have no notification of the safety car coming in. It seems fairly likely that this race now is going to finish behind the safety car. Once the clock strikes 0, the cars will complete whatever lap they are on, and then it will be +1 lap after that. So it's going to strike 0 on this lap. So for the race to get back under green flag for 1 last lap, the safety car would need to come in at the end of this lap. We have no notification that that is likely to happen as things stand at the moment. But everything could change as we head around the wonderful hotel turn A very technical, complicated turn to get right. A great overtaking opportunity, but the corner that has caught so many people out over the years. On this circuit, you saw the pit lane also rejoins on the outside of the hotel turn. Quite unusual to have the pit entry and pit exit on the outside of the circuit. This wonderful Oschersleben Motorsport Arena, we're here supporting the DTM package this weekend and many other dates throughout the year. And this is race 3 of this 12 race season. And the clock has struck 0, so I think it'll be one more lap next time around. The safety car looks to be staying out at the moment, so it may duck in as we come out of the final corner, just to allow the cars to cross the line without the safety car in front of them. But I think the chances of getting back racing now is fairly unlikely. The lights would go off on the safety car if it was about to come in, but at the moment the lights are on. It's Julian Apostolos who is looking for his 2nd win in 3 races, along with Oscar Tunjo in the JVO Racing Duquesne. Jörg van Orman's team so deciding that Prototype Cup Germany is the way forward. So lots of spectators here this weekend, including some very lovely looking geese. They seem very chilled about the whole thing, don't they? Wonderful to be here right out in the countryside. It has been a wonderful day here. We get to do it all again tomorrow as well. That's the best bit. It's just day 1 of 2 days of racing. So starting the final lap, this is going to finish behind the safety car. It will be Julian Apostolos who takes the win ahead of Gary Hauser at the end of this lap. But it has been a glorious day. We've had all sorts of entertainment here, including DTM, of course, the mighty DTM here at Oschersleben for the first time in many years. I'm just quite happy to sit and look at that for one. I'm finding that quite calming in amongst all the
yeah, they're
noise.
very chilled out, aren't they? In terms of the championship then, for the win, 25 points. For 2nd place, 20 points. So 5 more points going the way of Apostolos and his teammate Oscar Tunjo, and they're only 4 behind in the championship too, Gary Hauser and Marcus Pommer. So by my maths, they're going to move just into the championship lead by a point. A win each coming into this race, but now a 2nd win means that's 2 wins and a 3rd for them, a win and 2 seconds for Hauser and Pommer. So yeah, just a single point between them in the championship. And Valentino Catalano and Robin Rogalski, they're picking up their 2nd podium so far. Their results got better each race, actually. They were 6th in race 1, 2nd in race 2, and they've got another podium now in race 3. So they'll pick up 18 points for that, and will be pretty close behind in 3rd in the championship. They'll be on to, what, 48 points, whereas Apostolos and Tunjo will be on to 66 points, I reckon. So
I need to tell you, he's got his shoes and socks off. He's used his toes to add this one. It's quite smelly in here.
Very big scientific calculator.
So we are on the final lap. We've had notification the safety car is in on this lap, which is nice because it means that Julian Apostolos will be able to collect the checkered flag without the safety car in front. So we'll duck off as they come into the final corner. Gary Hauser, Valentino Catalano, the 3 main championship contenders at the moment, as already said, will be 1st, 2nd and 3rd. This is going to be quite the championship in 2023. Out of the final corner he comes. It has been a pretty flawless performance. Julian Apostolos, along with Oscar Tunjo, who win race 3 of the season, race 1 of this weekend. The rest of the cars crossing the line, and it's Gary Hauser in 2nd, ahead of Valentino Catalana. The pole-sitting car, the number 72, with Matthias Luton at the wheel in 4th place, ahead of Mark van der Snel and Xavier Loveras. That's a good debut for him in 6th place. Maximilian Hacklander in 7th. Danny Sufi in 8th place, ahead of Elias Sparandio. Not the kind of race he was hoping for, ahead of Konstantin Skoll. We've barely mentioned the number 3 car, Konstantin Skoll, who took over from Dino Steiner in the ADAC Motorsport car. Very quiet afternoon for them. Marco Kasich, who took over from Jan Marszalkowski and had that drive-through penalty. Martin Anderson, who was thoroughly entertaining in his attempts to unlap himself, ahead of Courtney Crone. We haven't mentioned her yet either, who took over from Jakob Erlbacher, and Wolfgang Peyer coming home in 14th place. And the only non-finish was Gustav Kirilla.
There's a legend, Bernd Schneider, there to the right of the picture, the multiple five-time German touring car champion who's here enjoying the scenes. So the good thing about that safety car coming in at the end, Brian, was we got to hear the rumble and the roar of the V8s one more time, didn't we, as they burst over the start-finish line. But if I was everybody else in that Prototype Cup Germany pack for tomorrow, I'd be slightly worried about the pace that Potholos showed in the second half of that race, because he just left them behind. I mean, the results will say he went by 0.6 of a second. That was only the safety car. The reality is he would have won that race by about 20 seconds, I think. At
least, I should think. It was quite poignant that we should see Bernd Schneider, because he is the one who recommended Julien Potholos as a race driver. He's been very much a supporter and shouting about Julien Potholos. He is no doubt here supporting our race winner, and he's the one who recommended him to the team to have that seat. Yeah, the legend that is Bernd Schneider and Jörg van Orman, what a combination that is. There is our winner, Julien Potholos, and the number 6 JVO Racing Duquesne coming in to Parc Fermé, and he will be delighted. We saw Julien Potholos in TCR Germany for a while, and he had briefly in GT4, but this is where he's really found his place in LMP3 racing. A driver with enormous potential who will be troubling the top of the timing sheets wherever he goes. And Oscar Tunjo, who had his debut year last year in the Prototype Cup Germany, what a potent combination that is. So Julien climbs from the car, the rest of the cars rumble in, the ground shakes, but Julien Potholos, the man who received that checkered flag. Pats the car, job well done, and Jörg van Orman will be very pleased with that. Also, the JVO team. I thought he was taking a bow, but he's actually pointing to his sponsors, I think. Yes, Valentino Catalano. Last time I commentated on him, he was driving in ADAC Formula 4. That was in 2021. And he has come on leaps and bounds. We like to listen in Parc Fermé. It's always a bit of a white knuckle ride because we don't know what's going to come out of some of the mads, but I think it was all in German anyway, so all's well that ends well.
Congrats.
Congrats indeed. And Gary Hauser, the driver who entertained last year, 5th in last year's championship, was in the LMP3 Supercar Challenge. He's been in LMP3 since, there we go. The confirmation of your complicated calculations.
1 point between the top 2 in the championship. And they're the only 2 driver pairings that have now finished on the podium in all 3 races, aren't they? So well done to race winners after, in the end, was 39 laps of racing. Julien Potholos with a tremendous second half performance to bring the car home after the excellent start by Oscar Tunjo, who remember got that frustration as well when he had the 77 car come out in front of him after the pit stops. That proved to be important, though, for Catalano not to get held up, didn't it? Because Catalano had just taken over the wheel of the 77 car, didn't want to go a lap down to the number 6 car, and then proceeded to drive very quickly himself. And Catalano was really the only one that had the same sort of lap time pace as Potholos, wasn't he, for that last 6 or 7 laps as he pursued that final spot on the podium and managed to do it just in the nick of time, didn't he, just before the safety car was deployed.
Yes, and I wonder whether he just turned it up to 11 when he saw that car stranded there. He knew that this was possibly his last opportunity to get that podium position, and he got past in the nick of time. Right, podium time it is. Valentino Catalano and Robin Rogowski. As we listen to Toby Shimon announcing the drivers onto the podium, it is Gary Hauser and Marcus Pommer, a driver who stood on the podium many, many times. But the top step, they're going to take a bit of beating this year, aren't they? Julien Potholos and Oscar Tunjo. Take your time, chaps. We haven't got anything to do. Here they come. And on to the top step of the podium they come. The winning team, Jörg van Orman for JVO Racing. The winning team. Now, I think we're going to get a representative, are we? And then it'll be the national anthem. Oh, we're going to get the winning rookie, which is Julian Apostolos. He's looking as proud as anything there. And the winning trophy driver, Matthias Luton, who eventually came home in 4th place, the trophy championship. And Matthias Luton, the defending trophy champion. Now the national anthem. So the national anthem echoing out around the Oschersleben Motorsport Arena. It has been a thoroughly entertaining day. As I was saying earlier, we've had DTM, we've had GT4, we've had BMW M2 Cup. What else have we had? We've had all sorts of things going on here. And the prototypes, the noise is something to behold. If you've never seen an LMP3 prototype race, it's worth your while getting along just to feel the vibration. Sven Haller awarding the winning trophies to Julian Apostolos and Oscar Tunjo. And Moritz Morstein. I'd like to pretend I know who he is. I'm sad to say I don't, but a great job he's doing presenting those trophies. And our 3rd place, Valentina Catalan, Alisa John. And I believe they have some Olympic connections in Magdeburg presenting the trophies. And then Julian Apostolos will get his junior championship trophy as well. He's going to need a bigger mantelpiece for that lot. He's yet another trophy for the very likeable young Swiss driver.
Olympic javelin throwers, they were.
Ah, thank you. Did you look that up?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, rumbled.
I saw the word spear and I thought maybe they're javelinists, is that the right word?
Well, we welcome them here. I bet they've been impressed because it has been a great day of racing. Matthias Luton, the trophy award going to him, the trophy drivers. And then one for JVO Racing as well as the winning team. Of course, we get to do it all again tomorrow. It will be race 4 tomorrow, race 4 of a 12-race season. Good heavens, are we up to 1/3 distance already? So after tomorrow, championship is very much up and running. After tomorrow, it will be Zandvoort in June, the Norris Ring in July. Oh boy, that's going to be fun. Assen, we haven't been there for a while, have we, in September? And it all comes to a halt and comes to a close at the Nürburgring in October. But at the moment, our thoughts are very much on what has been a thrilling race 3 of the season, the first of the 2 races this weekend for the Prototype Cup Germany, the ADAC in association with Creventic. The celebrations echo around the motorsport arena Oschersleben. There is confirmation of our classification. 39 laps in the books for Oscar Tunjo and Julian Apostolos, ahead of Marcus Pommer and Gary Hauser, Robin Rogowski, Victor Catalano, Lauren Herr and Matthias Luton, Max and Mark van der Snel, ahead of Gabriela Jokova, Xavier Loveras, Maximilian Hacklander and Sebastian von Gartzen. And the rest of the results scrolling through, the only non-finisher as a result of that incident at the end, Nico Gerler and Gustavo Kirilla. Entertainment all the way from the Prototype Cup Germany. It has been a real joy to have you with us today. We look forward to doing it all again tomorrow. Join us for qualifying at 9 o'clock local time and for the race at 15:40 local time. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.